A little bit of Ford update. We got the cab kind of lightly mounted back on the frame. The front suspension's finally together. You know, where we've had to C-notch that Mustang 2 kit to get everything in. Got the sway bar in. It actually is back to everything's universal, but took some work to make it work. Little things like these goofy little shock pieces here. There was no spacer. The kit doesn't come with anything between where that red bushing is and that outer edge. And so the bottom of that shock would slide side to side and those little red bushings would fall off. So I had to machine up and make some bushings, put some bushings in there to keep that shock kind of centered on both sides. Little things like that, trying to get that figured out. Got the fenders kind of loosely mounted. The company that we ordered a core support for, this one, you know, the original is pretty toast. And according to the internets and their website, they didn't have a core support for this 66. But if you looked in their old catalog said something like 60 through 66 and half ton, whatever. I can't exactly remember, but their old catalog said this core support was the right one. Their tech support guy on the phone and they said, no, this isn't the right one, but it actually bolts perfect. Everything lines up right, so I'm glad I ordered that one. That has that fitting very nicely. Our stance is great. You know, the car is sitting on dollies right now, so it's sitting pretty tall, but height of the wheel to that, it's a little high in there, which put the inner skirts and things on, but it matches. If you look at that frame, we're sitting just slightly, you know, pitched this way, so it's the weight of the bed's on, that's going to level down. And I still have 2-inch drop spindles if I want to drop the front, or if the customer wants to drop the front anymore. Plus, there's also no engine, no weight, no cab or anything on that. So when you start putting weight and everything on this, it will go down. There's absolutely no squish to this. Like if I put my foot, put weight on it, it's, you know, the springs are there, but that's about where that's at. I've got the doors to strip yet. I'm going to start stripping them tomorrow, get them cleaned up. It's amazing how heavy that little door is. But I'm going to start stripping the doors, getting them ready. The box gets sandblasted next week, and then we'll get that undercoated, chassis black, and get it coated, get it primed. Basically waiting on engine so I can start making motor mounts and things that way. Once we have the engine and transmission, we can start moving forward on some of that and then go back to fit and finish and some stuff on the body. So it's a little back and forth. But one thing I was thinking about while I was just cleaning, I haven't shown any love to the good old red truck. Working on this old 66 makes me think of good old red that's outside. And I was thinking I've never even done a video on my red truck, and here's the reason for my red truck. This is hanging in here. This is my father's truck that I was pretty much born and raised in. They're my lovely parents. And here's an old photo of when I was a kid out camping. I'm over there, my brother's over there, that'd be my mama. And believe it or not, we used to have a set of 5 living in that. This is the same truck. This was our driveway we used to be as a kid going down, and that was the kind of snow we used to get. And he would plow that with that old 70 power wagon, an old cable driven winch, and would drive out and plow, and then the wind would blow and fill the road in, and he'd be out pushing it again and plowing it up. I mean, that snow's pretty much the height of the camper shell on the back of that old beast. So you notice old red that I got sitting outside, which is this key here. Haven't fired him up in a while. Let's take it out. And I'll show you this truck. It's not my father's truck. And basically that truck is the inspiration for that truck and why I built that truck. It's why it has the 70 front end in it, because my father's truck was a 70. And That's why all the modifications and things of that truck is to look 70-ish. This truck, my folks were tragically taken from us in a bad car wreck, and I've always wanted this truck ever since he got rid of it in the mid-90s. He sold the truck after he had a diesel full-size truck. The old Power Wagon kind of went away, and we always kind of thought the Power Wagon was part of the family. And so I was always searching for a good 70 Power Wagon, and I never could find one. Not one that was the actual Power Wagon. And I found this truck. It was actually a 68 and Power Wagon. So the 68s have a different grill. And the guy that had it drove it over. I looked at it, told him it fires up and runs, I'll buy it. And he fired it up and drove it to me, and it was all multicolored, had like a blue box, and it had weird door pieces on the side and gas doors on it, things that direction. And so we built this guy. This was a quick Van Sickle paint job back in 2002-03. Just sits out here in the sun, needs to get washed and cleaned, get it buffed out again. But I just wanted to make basically a truck that was similar to my parents' truck, or the truck I had when I was a kid. So we put the 70 grill in it, and then even the wheels and tires. So this had just 16-inch wheels on it. These are actual 16.5s. They're 1250 16.5s. It's hard to see in the photo. And they haven't made 16.5s in years. 16.5s don't exist. I was looking online, or 33, that's what, yeah. 33, 1250, 16.5s. And that's the exact same size tire that he ran on his trucks. And they were such a big tire back then. I found a guy in Texas that had these wheels and tires. And I told him the story of what I was doing. I was trying to build a tribute truck to my father. And I basically paid shipping, and he gave me these wheels and tires. They're crazy old wheels and tires. They're weather checked and cracked. I'm, gonna probably have to throw a set of 17s or something on it and change it out, because you're never gonna get them again. The tread obviously is absolutely fine. This truck doesn't get driven enough to wear the tread out. I know you can date them off the model or serial number of them somewhere, but I don't really know what it is. But these tires are probably from the 90s, if even earlier. But anyways, so that was really cool that he kind of gave me those. I also did a little tribute to the back, and I thought that was really awesome. It was a rusted up, beat up, rough truck. I threw some Bondo on it, didn't really do much for repairs on anything, and just slapped some paint on it so that it kind of looked like that truck. And I've had a lot of fun with it, and I really enjoy it. My mama loved Betty Boop. She's got Betty Boop floor mats. These are Buoy Buddies. They go in a boat. And he had these exact same cup holders in his truck. And I remember being a little kid and sitting here and bouncing down the gravel road and watching the soda spin and bounce and twist and really not make a big mess. And so as soon as we got the truck, I had to put the Buoy Buddy cup holders in it so it looked just like the one. I even found the cowboy hat. This was a option, either like a J.C. Whitney thing or a factory option deal. And actually one of the selling points of the truck was the gun rack in the back. He had a big old gun. He had a gun rack in the back and always had a gun in the back seat. I normally have something hanging back here, but the world's broken anymore, so you don't just leave them out always so people can't take them. But let's see if it's been sitting for a while. A few weeks ago, I came out and fired it up, a month or so ago, and one of the front wheels were locked up and it wouldn't even move. Make sure neutral stick is in neutral. But I've got some bigger plans for that. I really want to make this truck kind of cool and do something different with it. And come on, girl, kicking over. There she is. Look at that. Got a little tunage in it, which there was a huge hole in this radio from whoever had it before, so this little thing here, which is still not even a factory radio, is just kind of stuffed in there. So still want to kind of fix it up. I want to do some more dash stuff, but for one small crack in the dash, that's not bad at all. That'll be fun to fix. We've got an old wore out 318 in her, and so that's just what we got going on in here. I have actually some of my previous videos, I think way back in my video somewhere. Look at that rat's nest of wiring. But yeah, one of my previous videos, right when I finished this truck and I just got it painted, there was a mud bog drag race, sand rail race thing going on a few miles from town, and I drove this to it and I entered it in the tough truck competition and a couple of the sand drags, and actually was one of the only trucks that did a full pass. I jumped logs. It was raw, but I caught full air off of one of the little ramps and landed it in a mud hole, and it dug itself out and came out of it. I went there with the full intention of blowing this engine up so that I could put the motor that my father had in his truck. Now, he was a diesel mechanic his entire life and a mechanic his entire life. So he had a 383 with 440 heads, quad 4-barrel, so 2 4-barrels. It had 3 gas tanks. It had the gas tank behind the seat, and it had the 2 sister tanks in the wheel wells. He used to laugh and say that truck would pass anything but a gas station. And I've always wanted to put some big power in this truck and really make it something. It runs good. The 318 is still the same 318 that was in it. It rattles, it clanks, it makes noise, but it moves itself all down the road. But it doesn't have what I would call power. So I guess I'm going to leave this little video with this point. I've got a couple really decent 318s, and I've got parts and pieces that I could put a cam in it, and the 318 would bolt right in. Since there's a 318 there, the transmission, bell housing, and clutch and everything would bolt right in, and I could probably make a really decent 318 build out of it, because I think this winter this is going to be one of my next projects. I think I'm gonna go back after this truck and get old Red going good. Or option 2, I do have a really well built 440. Now the 440 I have, it was built by a guy trying to haul boats with a New Yorker, and he custom made homemade fuel injection. It's direct port fuel injection on a 440 from the 90s. The fuel injection kit is hokey, so I'd have to put a different intake and things on it. I do have, I think, a 440 bell housing, but then it's going to be different clutches, different motor mounts. I don't have any exhaust manifolds or exhaust parts for it. Don't know what I need for distributor timings and everything that way, because of what the motor is and what it has and what it's been going through. So it's definitely not going to be easy to put the 440 in. The 440 is going to be very involving. The 440 is going to be a lot closer motor to what he had. So to be true to trying to make a replica dad's truck, that's definitely, the right option. But I definitely think I can make that 318 pretty snotty and make that truck kind of fun to drive and have a little bit more fun and power with it. So still waiting on the motor for that girl. A little upset with my engine builder. He keeps telling me he'll have it, and then he doesn't. And so still waiting on the motor from that. And actually some of the parts that we didn't use and I ordered for the motor for this is getting a cammed roller rocker 360 and the 360 and everything in that. Was supposed to be here 2 months ago. Still don't have it. But once we have the motor in that's done. The original cam that was a RV cam and stuff from that 360 can go in the 318 that I have a good used 318 that I can do a, garage rebuild on for this one. And then once I get the motor in, get it running strong, I want to readdress, the typical rust issue. Basically, these trucks, when it rains, the water comes in here, goes into this area, and then there's a little drain pit here, but it basically builds in this corner and rusts these out. When I restore them and I do them like in that truck, that's all new metal, but then I fill it with a urethane and I float that so these will never ever ever rust again. And that's why that body line is beautiful and perfect. You can notice like this has the later style hood on it. I like the styling of this hood. It's definitely not the 70 hood, but the 70 grill, has a soft spot in my heart because of this truck. But that's where I'm at. If you want, leave a comment. If you don't want to leave a comment, cool. Thanks for watching the little video on my red truck. But this is basically my memento truck to my parents. It's been sitting for, well, not sitting, I take out garbage with it and I take it to town a couple times a year and I just drive it occasionally. But I want to give her some love again. It's been 20 years and their accident was in 2003 and I built this truck, I think 2004, 2005, something like that. So it's now 2025. So this truck's pretty much been sitting out for 20 years. It's a little weathered from its last redo, so I want to give it some more love. My daughter backed it into we were pushing it one day and backed into a thing because she wasn't used to manual brakes. I told her to stop and she was lightly pushing the brake pedal instead of pushing it hard, which is just part of being a kid and not knowing old school trucks. You got to really put some muscle into it. So I need to pull that, fix that, and put some new tail lights in it. There's some rusty spots on that my original bodywork repairs were, like I said, just down and dirty and quick and nasty. So I think you can start to see right there, the quick welds from where the old gas can used to be is cracked out. So that needs to be repaired. This fender's got the same bubbling going on. So it's far from perfect. It will never be perfect. I don't even want it to be perfect. His truck wasn't perfect. We used to go to the woods camping in it. We used to go working in it. It was a work truck, fun truck, family truck. It was what it was. But that is the old 70. So anytime you see some of my old videos and see them in the background, that's why it is and what it is. Same thing for the mirrors. He actually used to have really big, tall white mirrors that were heated even. So these were mirrors that a friend gave to me. Matter of fact, I'm going to show the biggest sin of the truck. Here it is. You ready for this? It's horrible. I hate to show anyone. Do you see it? Oh, but they were free. Someone gave them to me and they're really nice shape and nice and chrome. So that's why they're on it. I need to take a little grinder and kind of buff that off. But other than that, that's what we got going on. So what do you think? A well-built cammed out 318 or 440? Still going to be a manual stick transmission? Let me know and I'll start building here in a few months. Probably only late summer, but late summer through winter, that's what we're going to be doing. Thanks, y'all.